So last weekend, we started talking about peace. And if you missed that particular message, it's available off of our website. As I particularly talked about peace with God. And just so you have an idea of the series, the idea, the concept that I'm hoping is true, is that as we are centered in the peace we have from God, as we acknowledge and we feel the love, the grace, the mercy that God pours on us, that peace with God starts to extend out like the ripples in a pond, that we might have a deeper peace with our family. We might have a deeper peace in our community and in our nation and in our world. So it really starts with that peace from God. And if you were here last week, what I really did was a deep, deep Bible study on peace with God, particularly as Paul expressed in the book of Romans. This morning, I'm going almost at the other end of the spectrum, and I'm just going to mention one particular scripture verse, one particular idea, but a deep, powerful idea. And then I'm going to share some things from a wonderful book that kind of takes that simple idea and spells it out to some skills that we can learn and develop in order to be more at peace. So that one simple verse is this one from the book of Ephesians, written by an early follower of Jesus named Paul. And this simple idea is so powerful. Paul writes, "But speaking the truth in love." Speaking the truth in love. Deep concept, because there is a lot of speaking the truth. I mean, letting people have it, but not so much love. And there's also a lot of loving, but where we just kind of skirt or kind of avoid or just keep to ourselves the truth that we see. So both of these things at the same time, speaking the truth in love. We grow up in every way into Him who is the head, into Christ. It's the heart of our mission statement, to grow with Jesus. So as I mentioned, this simple idea of speaking the truth in love gets really pulled apart very well in a book that I've been reading over the last couple of weeks called Crucial Conversations. And the book I've found so helpful in my own thinking that what I want to basically do is give you a summary of the book, which I know does a great injustice to the book. If you like the concepts, there are some summaries that go into much greater detail you can find on the internet or even to buy the book. But I'm going to give you a summary, and I think what that will help do is help us to have some skills that we might be more at peace with our family, community, nation, and world. So let me dive into a summary of the book. So the book starts with the simple idea to start with the heart. And that's wonderful and easy for us as people of faith to start with the very best in us, with the very best of intentions, to start with the goals that we have to be at peace. In particular, to focus on what you really want, to not get lost along the way. One of the authors described that very well in the call to worship, in that sense of, well, what do I really want in this situation? To have a good relationship with my son. Or I'm going to use the example this morning of one of our primary family relationships in marriage, or romantic relationships as well. In particular, I look at my own marriage to my wife, Carolyn. And there are all kinds of things that we could disagree about. We could be frustrated on. But if I think about what I really want, to have a loving, healthy relationship with my wife, then a lot of the other stuff comes into better focus. And I'll talk about this a little bit more. So focus on what you really want and avoid the fight or flight. This is deep in our biology. The base of our brain has been developed over ages that when we encounter a challenge, you're walking in the woods and you come across a bear, fight or get out of there. That's how we respond. That's what our biology tells us to do. But we have the capacity, especially as the capacity as people of faith, to say, I don't have to do either. What the book refers to as the fool's choice. There's another choice. To speak the truth in love is to avoid fight or flight and stay and have a crucial conversation. So first, start with the heart, and then learn to look, learn to pay attention, that our peacemaking skills, what Jesus described as blessed are the peacemakers, we can develop them. We can grow these skills. It isn't easy. It sometimes doesn't come naturally. It's part of our biology and sometimes part of our family history to not have these skills, but we can grow in them if we learn to pay attention. We're paying attention to the crucial conversations. We're looking for the crucial. My wife and I have all kinds of conversation throughout the week about many things that are less important, but every once in a while they're crucial. And to pay attention to those moments especially, and to create a place of safety in those conversations where both of us feel safe to share. We'll talk more about that in a moment. And to recognize what your own style is, what your own particular way of dealing with those situations is, and to fight what comes naturally, and to carefully enter into those conversations, knowing that they're crucial. So learn to look. And then to dig deeper into that, how does one make a safe place to have a crucial conversation? Well, there's two pieces of that especially. Establish a mutual purpose. So again, in my marriage to Carolyn, we can have disagreements and frustrations and arguments about all kinds of different things, but if both of us remember, at least I'm responsible for this one from my side, that I want a healthy, loving relationship. If I keep that foremost, then all the other things we can and sometimes do disagree about can minimize because we have this central purpose to have a loving, healthy relationship. And as well within that, to have mutual respect. That Carolyn knows that I respect her and I value her, and that she lets me know that she respects and values me, creates this safe environment where we can have the healthy conversation. So to make it safe, and then to master the stories that you tell yourself. I found this very, very helpful, even just in the last week or two as I've read the book, the idea that each of us tell ourselves stories which may or may not be true. So the way this works is that there's something we see or something that we hear. It's an event, and then we tell ourselves a story about what that means, which may or may not be true, and then we feel and act upon that. It was one of those concepts that when I read this, I thought, yeah, I do this all the time, and I never had a language for it, but sometimes my stories aren't right. Or the book used what I thought was an excellent example of a story. A wife is scanning through the credit card bills. And this was a true story, observed and told to the authors and then, understood more deeply. A wife is viewing the credit card statement, and on the credit card statement is a charge for a hotel down the road, a cheap hotel. And this immediately starts to concern her. And the story that she tells herself is exactly what happened to her sister, who found out that her husband was having an affair in exactly that kind of way by seeing a hotel bill on there that she had no knowledge about. The story she tells herself really matters and concerns her, especially because she's predisposed in that area by what happened in her extended family. So when you tell yourself those stories, be aware of that story, and maybe also how you might be a part of that particular crucial conversation. What part you may have in her particular case, that it is part of her history, and her husband has not given her any reason to mistrust him, to recognize her place in it. And to even ask yourself, if the other person is a reasonable, decent person, give them the benefit of the doubt, which we always give ourselves in our own motives, but sometimes more rarely give to the other person. then we can explore that story and explore that conversation more deeply. So once you've mastered your stories, then as you start into the crucial conversation, the authors say, state your path. And state, in this case, is actually an acronym for how to go about the conversation. So the S in state stands for share the facts. Without value, simply share the exact details. Where you could well imagine that wife getting very, very upset and accusing her husband, what is this you're doing to me? I saw this hotel bill. Or she could fight or flight from it and simply not say anything at all and harbor this deep worry about what's taking place. She simply shared the facts. I was reviewing through the credit card statement, and I found this hotel bill, and this has me concerned. And then to share her story. As you know, my sister found out her husband was having an affair in exactly this way. And honey, you've given me no reason to mistrust you, but this obviously has me concerned, and I'm worried. Then ask for the other's path. Do you know why this would be? She asked, and does so in a tentative way. She's not sure. She doesn't know all the details. It's a scary experience because of her sister's story, but she tentatively asks and encourages him to share, encourages him to explore this challenge as well. Well, in this particular case, what they found out as they explored it together was that they had had a dinner at a Chinese restaurant, and that owner also owned a hotel, the one with the charge, and he had run the credit card bill through the hotel instead of through the restaurant. And when they found that out, she remembered the dinner that they had very well. And the problem was solved. And even more than that, their trust and their relationship was built more deeply within the midst of that crucial conversation. Where it could have been harmful and it deteriorated trust, the crucial conversation built them up into more peace in their marriage. So the authors also go on to say, explore the other person's path, especially when the other person maybe is more prone to fight or flight, how to draw them out a little bit. They suggest 4 things that have the acronym AMP at that point. To ask, as the wife did with her husband, simply to ask. And if they can't respond to that, maybe to mirror, to just simply hold up a mirror to what you see or observe in them. Well, honey, you seem very upset, or customer, you seem frustrated, or coworker, or whoever that might be, child or parent. This is what I see. And explore that a little bit more. You can also paraphrase, what I hear you saying, and kind of share what you think that they're communicating. And you can even prime the pump a little bit. Well, if I were in your situation, I might feel, or I might think, if they're having trouble verbalizing that themselves, you can draw them out by offering what you think that they might be thinking or feeling to draw into this crucial conversation. And then last, the authors note that it isn't always enough just to have the crucial conversation, but then in the action, as you move to action, what things need to be decided. And a couple of those are important. Who and how will we decide the end result to this conversation? And then who and what and when will it get observed? There are all kinds of situations in our families, and I see this in workplaces often, where the details of who, what, and when haven't been fully worked out. And then maybe even an appointment to follow up on the specific situation to make sure that the who, what, and when get worked out. So again, I mentioned I'm probably doing a disservice to the book to summarize it in such great speed, but I just felt like some of these tools were wonderful for us to learn to be more at peace in our families. And as I thought about this, I thought of my own nuclear family, my wife Carol and my sons Joshua and Andrew. And what I realized is in my family, there is a wonderful opportunity to learn more peacemaking skills. My family is a wonderful source of grace and love to me, but they also are an opportunity for me to be better than I am, to be a better husband and father, to be a better person, and to be a better person of faith. It's a place where I work out the skills of being a peacemaker. And if I can do that better in my family, then I have better skills in my community, here at church, with my neighbors, people I interact with, in our nation, and in our world.